Clean up here. This dish I actually had out in San Francisco. You know, you don't just wake up in the morning always with fresh new ideas. It's actually rare when that happens. You get inspiration from someplace. So I'm visiting my brother out in San Francisco, and we happened to go to this wonderful little noodle house down in the Haight-Ashbury section. Remember the Haight-Ashbury section, back where all the rock and rollers lived and hung out, like Grateful Dead and Jefferson Airplane and all these other wonderful rockers from the 60s and 70s. And it's still kind of a very hippie kind of area. And so we ordered these edamame beans, and I've only had them salted and poached. And so when these came out, they were explosive in flavor. Unbelievable. You start eating these, you'll be sucking on your fingers. They're so good. So again, we're sauteing some ginger, some garlic, and some scallions. Big, big flavors. We've got our risotto going wonderfully. And we've still got 2 more dishes to make for you. Add a little more chicken stock to this. We don't want to let this color on the other side for our sautéed dish. We want to just get everything nice and tender. Now I'm going to add my edamame beans to this. Whoa! Not the whole bowl, just the edamame beans. And the edamame beans flying all over. Pick out all the ones I knocked onto the stove. And now we'll make them fly once more. There's always something happening in the kitchen. You drop things, you spill things, never get nervous. Slow down, stop, clean up, get organized, you'll all be fine. There's an old story that actually isn't true about Julia Child in the kitchen and her dropping a chicken or something and picking it up and throwing it back in the pot and saying, when you're in the kitchen, you're alone. Didn't actually ever happen, but folklore says it did. But one time I asked her about it, and she said that was just one of those things that build over time. Okay, now that we've got these nicely coated with the garlic, the ginger, and the scallion, I want to add our hoisin sauce. Hoisin is, I guess, similar to an Asian barbecue sauce. Very, very thick, like a dark brown molasses type ingredient. And we're going to add some ponzu sauce. Ponzu is a citrus flavored soy sauce. It's available in Asian markets as well as supermarkets now. I'm seeing it. Want to add enough to start to loosen up that hoisin sauce in there. These are good hot, cold. I made these for my cousin not too long ago down in Florida. And he called me probably 6 times to make sure he had the recipe right. He's into bodybuilding, and this being a great source of protein, he thought that he had died and gone to heaven. So instead of drinking these massive protein drinks, he was doing a lot with edamame. So coincidentally, when I was there, I happened to make this for him, and he was just so elated. A little more stock in our risotto. This risotto is just something you nurture little by little until it develops into this wonderful, wonderful dish. And then the last thing we're going to put into this is some fresh cilantro that I'm going to chop up. Again, big, big flavors. Soy is also a fabulous, fabulous dish that promotes good women's health. Look at this. Just a little bit of fresh pepper. You could spice it up a little bit and put some garlic chili sauce in it. Okay, I'm going to shut this flame down and just let these sit until we have all of our other items ready. And now we're going to go to work on our two other dishes. A little cleanup. Remember what I said before about staying organized, focused. Get everything out of the way that you don't need. Okay, last two dishes are going to be done in the food processor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look over the ingredients of these dishes and I'm going to see what I can do to make them both without having to switch out and do the big cleanup in between. And I'm going to be jumping back and forth to our risotto. Okay, so first dish I'm going to do is a wonderful edamame pesto. So for that, I'm going to take 1 clove of garlic and I'm going to crush that up a bit and just give it a coarse chop. So when you throw whole cloves of garlic into the food processor, they have a tendency to want to just be on a roller coaster and take a big ride in a circle, and sometimes they don't get adequately chopped. So I start the process by chopping them a bit. Next, I'm going to put in my edamame beans, which is going to be the base for this pesto. And then I'm going to chop up a little bit of fresh parsley. Again, just coarse. Don't have to go crazy with it. Keep my board clean. And then I'm going to put in some pine nuts. The last ingredient I'm going to put in is going to be some cheese. I want to put some salt and pepper. This starts out as kind of a bland dish, so I know that it's going to definitely need quite a bit of salt and some wonderful fresh cracked pepper. Hope we don't run out of time on you folks. I think we'll be able to make it up. Now, some wonderful extra virgin olive oil. Close up our food processor. And I want to pulse this around a bit. The last thing I'm going to do is put the cheese in because I don't want to over-process this with the cheese. If you process this too much with the cheese, what happens is the heat from the blade going at such a high revolution is going to start to gum up and melt that cheese. So I'm going to put that in and just pulse it at the very end. But right now I'm going to turn this on and add some extra virgin olive oil until I get a consistency that's kind of like a, I guess like an oatmeal.